Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And today we have Anna Fruehling, and she's going to be talking about how to get break free from the addiction of sugar and how addictive it is, the 12 different steps. So we are so excited to have you. Anna, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to speak about something that's really not known about. Sugar addiction is really one disease, many outlets, kind of like your house is wired, right? You have one power system or one set of your little breaker system, and all the wiring goes to that, to all these different outlets, and you can plug in different things into those outlets. So I've been trained by Bitten Johnson, who's world renowned for her successful treatment of sugar and food addicts for years. And she says that sugar addiction is the primary addiction. In other words, it comes first. And that's because we're exposed so young to sugar and processed foods, including in infancy, say with like formula, which is loaded with, high fructose corn syrup and things like that. I think some of the formulas are getting a little bit better, but they're still very sweet, very hyper palatable foods from birth.
Mm. So let's talk about, how do you know if you are a true sugar addict or if you just like sugar, right?
Well, everyone likes sugar, and that's completely natural because our brain is hardwired for survival. So addicts have a very special brain, and I'm convinced that the reason that there's still people on earth is because of us, because we got up in the morning and we were like, let's hunt, let's gather. I remember where the berries were, right? Because we wanted to eat and have sex and do all of these things. But in our modern times, what's happened is we never have times of lean. We never have that natural off button. So now, sugar consumption has gone up and everything else. So now what happens to the brain? So an addicted brain is different than a normal brain. And you can actually see that on scans. And what's happened is that wiring system has been hijacked. That dopamine has been hijacked. And it's been rewired. In fact, with my clients, I use a video that came out last year, Baby's First Ice Cream. And it just shows this baby just innocently sitting there minding her own business. And all of a sudden they give her the ice cream cone, and she literally, you can see the wiring changing. In other words, the neurons that fire together wire together. So what's happening in the brain is now you have this euphoric recall. So now your brain is going to remember what it felt like to get that first high or that first hit, that addicts talk about. And to be able to tell the difference, you can ask yourself some questions. And there's actually a quick 6-question quiz that's free online called the SunCope. And we'll be posting that at SugarX Global as well. But it's a question that deals with amount of usage, that kind of thing. Have you tried to stop? Usually addicts try to stop doing something. After one bite, can you not stop? It's kind of like one bite is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So you have people that can moderate, and they're like, hey, I've been going a little bit too crazy lately. I'm just going to tighten things up. And they're able to do that no problem. And they make a decision to, I've learned from my past, I'm going to have, cake on my birthday. I'll have a treat on the holidays. Maybe I'll have a square of chocolate after dinner and I'm good, right? And they can do that. And they do it well. And then you have the people who they take one taste and they're sneaking back to the fridge. So addicts sneak, cheat, lie, steal. Like for me and my addiction, I would get up from the couch and I would be like, okay, I'm going to go get a glass of water. And I would hurry up and eat like 4 or 5 spoonfuls of ice cream out of the freezer and then come back like I didn't do anything. Right. So it's kind of it's a whole different thing. There's a lot of behaviors that go with addiction that cause you guilt and shame and cause you to feel powerless and out of control. And it's because you can't control the substance that is causing this wiring to fire. And once you take one bite of that wiring just keeps going off. Like it wants more. And this is like, you see little kids crying in the grocery store line for Takis, or please, mom, please, and they look like little junkies, because honestly, they are. And sugar is the gateway drug. So, if anyone gets anything out of this, limit your kids' sugar. Don't give them food as a coping mechanism. That's something that can cause disordered eating, whether you're an addict or not. So
I like what you said. You said one bite is too many, 1,000 isn't enough. That is a really good definition, because it's like, if you have one bite, you feel like you can't have enough. I always say people who are naturally thin, they can have 3 bites and they can comfortably stop without any problem at all. So they can have 3 bites of a piece of cake and they can easily push it away. And I heard a story about a girl who had a sugar addiction, and she had bought a cake and she didn't want to eat anymore. So she went and put it in the trash. She put Comet all over it. And then she wanted it so badly that she went and took it out of the trash, scraped off the top layer where all the Comet was, and then ate the inside.
Yes. and I would say that is true, but I also would say that it's a misunderstanding of the disease of addiction to think that thin people aren't addicts. In other words, I have a lot of thin clients that have never had a weight problem. And when I do the sugar tool on them, which is Bitten Johnson's tool that she created as an assessment tool for sugar addiction. And when I've done this on thinner people, what I get is a curve that shows that their addiction started very early. And by 8 years old, they were dieting. And I have one client who at 13, she was anorexic. And at 20, she was bulimic. And then she went on to exercise bulimia. So her whole thing was trying to control. And so she had all kinds of behavioral addictive symptoms due to the food. She was trying to control her use of food and she couldn't do it. And so addicts come in all shapes and sizes, and some come in all shapes and sizes for one person. So they could have started off thin, become heavy, went back to thin, maybe got underweight, then back to overweight. So each person is different, but addiction doesn't care what size you are. It manifests itself in its symptoms in different ways for each person. So sometimes I think the thin people have a harder time recovering because people like to look at their outsides and think they know what addiction looks like, when really it's your insides. It's the obsession and compulsion around food. It's the obsession and compulsion about what can I do to earn my next meal? That kind of thing. That's how a thin person might be thinking if they're an addict. And not all thin people are addicts, but there's a majority of thin people that you would think, oh, they've got it under control. Well, just look at their gym schedule. They might be spending 2 or 3 hours at the Y, or, they're basically obsessed and compulsed about their body image and what they're doing to control what they can eat. I've known runners over the years that, I'm running a marathon on Saturday, so I'm just going to load up on carbs. And it's like they're talking about, the Christmas or the 4th of July. You can just see the fireworks going off in their brain. They're so excited to be able to gorge out on as many carbs as they want to. And that's just not normal. Food is fuel. It's not, and we are supposed to enjoy it, but we're not supposed to go crazy like that.
So let's talk about some of the things that now, do you eat fruit or do you not eat any fruit either?
Once in a while, I eat some berries and I measure them because I don't trust myself with portions when it comes to sweet foods. And I have 5 autoimmune diseases, so I'm very limited on what I can eat. There are 3 reasons that you eliminate food from your diet. And we have a pyramid, and we say the base of the pyramid is addiction. So you remove all known psychoactive foods. And so we believe grains are psychoactive. We get rid of the industrial seed oils or the vegetable oils just because they're horrible for you anyway. And they do interfere with your body processing and your metabolism and everything. and we get rid of all sugars. And sugar has over 70 different names, including natural sugars. And so that means honey and molasses and all that stuff goes as well, because your brain doesn't know the difference. It's a psychoactive substance to your brain. And for some people, dairy, because dairy contains opioids and different things that hook onto different parts of your brain. And so then you go to the second thing, and that's the health section. Do you have health issues? So say you have metabolic syndrome, or you have diabetes or high blood pressure, autoimmune disease, whatever, cancer, then you might want to be lower on the carbohydrate curve. So then you might want to take out starchy vegetables. You might want to limit your carbs to around 20 to 30 total grams of carbs a day because of your health issues, not because of your addiction. And then you want to take out the things that don't align with your values. So that would be like your beliefs, like maybe you're Jewish and maybe you don't want to eat pork, or Muslim, you want to eat halal meats, so you eliminate things that way. And then we say you should always have your food plan grow with you. So we say if you have eaten a meal and you ate something on your meal and 2 hours later you feel hungry, there was a trigger on your plate. And so there's also trigger foods. And so for some people, fruit is a huge trigger. They eat one blueberry and they're done. They're thinking about sugar all day. That's not my story. I have a lot of things eliminated because of my autoimmunity. I'm pretty much carnivore most of the time. So I eat, all kinds of animal protein, salt, a little spice from now and again. Fermented vegetables seem to be easier on my body than regular vegetables, so I'm limited anyway.
What kind of autoimmune issues do you have?
I have rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's disease, Raynaud's, celiac, and psoriasis.
So now, have you been able to keep those at bay with doing what you're doing? So has the psoriasis gone? And talk about that.
My psoriasis isn't completely gone. I call myself an autoimmune nightmare. I've had autoimmunity since I was 5 years old. And I'm sure it started with celiac, but we just didn't know it back then. And I'm Italian, raised in San Francisco. So I ate pasta and sourdough bread. That's what we ate. And so I had horrible migraine headaches. I had thick nails from psoriasis of the nails. And 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I could hardly wipe my own ass for 3 years. And I was on 4 medications just for my rheumatoid, including 30 milligrams of prednisone every day for 3 years. And I literally got the hairy face, the moon face, and in the past 2 years, I've been off of all my medications more than I've been on them. I'm back on Humira right now. And I just think I'm probably going to have to stay on my Humira, but I'm pretty happy. I'm 55. I can move. I can do what I want. And it all started with removing things from my diet that aren't healthy anyway, that going back to a prehistorical diet, going back to a diet before we had agriculture. And it helped so much, and then I found out I had celiac. That's how I got started. I removed the gluten, and it was like the Tin Man got oil. It was amazing. Like I could move so much more freely. And so I was able to taper off of the prednisone, then I was able to get off of another medication, that was keeping me from being able to enjoy the outdoors because I got sunburnt in 2 seconds from being on that medication. Plaquenil, it's a medication that was talked about a lot with our virus going on right now, And then I was on 7 tablets of methotrexate, which just made me sick to my stomach. My hair was falling out. That's a chemo med. And so a lot of these situations were, I think, due to the way I ate. Like I would have been a lot better off had I not been a sugar addict. And like I said, sugar is the primary or first drug. It's the gateway drug to all other drugs. And I'm also a recovering addict with 31 years clean. And I started my drug use very young, because all the emotions I had around getting teased about my nails and, being a very scrawny kid, picked last on the team. Of course, I was scrawny because of my celiac, but I didn't know that, And so, Just all kinds of things. And plus my brain had already been hijacked. I remember bellying up to like 3 long tables. My mom worked for this huge law firm, and there were 3 long tables loaded with dessert. Like everybody in their firm brought all these desserts. And I remember eating till I thought I was going to vomit. I could not stop eating those desserts. I would go and play and I would think, I'm going to go get another brownie. It was like I couldn't even enjoy. This was on grounds outside of San Francisco that had playhouses and little, it was like a magical fantasy land for kids. And all I could think about was the dessert. And I was like 7 years old, and how much sugar could I cram into my face, because it changed the way I felt.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you about something that can lead to chronic disease. Yes, it's sugar. Over 70% of Americans are eating more sugar than they need to, and I was one of them. And I kept saying, this is my last time. I'm going to cut back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I didn't. I saw all the negative health effects. It was weakening my immune system, and I just couldn't say no. And that's until I discovered some really practical steps to just eliminating sugar from my life for good. And I want to teach you that as well. So everything I've learned to break my sugar addiction in my 30-day Kick Sugar Challenge. You're going to get exclusive access to a private Facebook group. You're going to have 4 weekly calls. You're going to get an accountability partner. I'm going to be personally walking you through these next 30 days. The most important thing you're going to learn, though, in these 30 days is the mindset you need to kick the sugar, to take your intermittent fasting to the next level. So just go to chantelrayway.com/kicksugar to learn more. The best part is it's only $30 right now. That's $1 a day investing in you for 30 days. It officially doesn't start until January 4th, but if you join now, you're going to get pre-access to the group, and we're going to give you practical tips to not overindulge through the holidays. On December 15th, the price is going to go up. So click the link in the description and you'll get to go to chantelrayway.com/kicksugar and you can join the group for just $30. So with the Sjogren's syndrome, that's a disorder of your immune system. And
Yes.
Mostly it's, dry eyes, dry mouth, right?
Yes.
That was your biggest common
it attacks your lymph system. Yes, definitely. My eyes turned as red as my shirt. And I was reading a book to my daughter and my tongue was sticking to the top of my mouth and I was choking on food. I literally, made no saliva. And to me, Sjogren's is like, it's one of those diseases that it's very uncomfortable. It's one that you notice, and it affects your whole lymph system. So I do a lot of things like my trampoline, I have a sauna, a lot of self-care things that help kind of shake up that system, dry brushing, that kind of thing. But I think, discovering what I can't eat in that, get rid of the addictive foods. But for me, it was backwards because I did the middle section first, right? I did the health. And so I was eating like that. And what would happen is I would take a day off and I would think I was going to have 1 bite or just a little bit of sugar, and I would eat that 1 sour gummy. Well, I'm the kind of addict that when I used drugs, I used yours and then I didn't let you know about mine. So say me and my family went to the movies, I would buy my candy, I would eat theirs and I wouldn't share mine, and then the next day I would be completely flared up. And even knowing this was going to happen and that it was going to hurt me, I would continue to do this behavior because I wasn't taking it seriously. And I used to call myself little funny names. Oh, I'm just a foodie. I'm a food junkie. I prided myself on my recipe collection and my ability to prepare these outstanding multi-course meals. I watched Food Network like some people watch porn. It was really crazy behavior looking back. And I ran across Bitten Johnson in a video and I was like, wow, this makes sense, because she's a recovering person who then found out she had sugar addiction. And the difference in my recovery and the difference in my clarity of mind, my serenity, my peace, my energy level, just waking up in the morning and knowing that for me, just as drugs are not an option for me today, sugar is not an option for me today. It hurts me. It damages me. I don't want to do harm to myself. And so, being trained with her in holistic addiction medicine has been a game changer for my coaching practice as well. I have clients that literally are so much more compliant and changing their lives like crazy. In fact, on Piece of Keto, which is my YouTube channel, one of my clients read a letter that she wrote for her congregation. She's a Lutheran minister, about her addiction, and it is so powerful. And that was after using the sugar tool with me. So
let's talk about the lymphatic system, because it really is a central part of your immune system. And it's also it supports just a huge vital role in cancer prevention.
Yes.
So I have a friend who just recovered from breast cancer. And so we're always talking about, lymph nodes, and sometimes people don't realize that you have a whole lymphatic system in your body, and they don't really understand what it does.
It's your second circulatory system, really, but it requires movement to circulate. And so with Sjogren's, it gets backed up or clogged up. And same thing with when you have breast cancer, they oftentimes remove lymph nodes, which interrupts that circulatory system. And then they can get the edema and swelling in their arms and that kind of thing. And I'm very surprised and pleasantly surprised that you even know anything about Sjogren's. Usually it's like speaking Greek to someone when you even bring up that disease. And it's a very serious disease. And your lymph system, one of the ways you can help it is movement. And so even weightlifting, that contraction helps move it. One of my favorites is a trampoline, getting a mini indoor rebounder, get a good quality one that's not going to mess with your ankles. I like the ones that have the wires rather than the bands, because it's a little bit more stable for your ankles. And 10 minutes a day, even just light bouncing. You can get a bar if you don't have your balance. And for me, it's given me back my ability to balance and strengthen my feet and my ankles from my rheumatoid arthritis as well. So that's a huge bonus. I also have one of those plates that you can stand on that shakes the heck out of you.
Me too.
And I love it. It energizes me in the middle of the day. And even if you don't have a lymphatic problem, it's not a bad practice to get into dry brushing, jumping jacks if you don't want to have a tramp, massage, saunas, self-massage. You can even just do things like, this is me in the shower or in my sauna, right? You're just moving your lymph fluid all towards your heart. And so this is where a lot of your waste is in your lymph system. And I believe that's part of what the cancer causing aspect of your lymph system not being cleaned out, lymphoma, all those kinds of things, is you're getting a backup of junk in there. And sugar is food for cancer. That's another thing to consider, that sugar is glucose in particular is one of cancer's only foods. It's something like 70 or 80% of cancer is fueled solely by glucose. So if I had cancer, I would go completely onto a ketogenic carnivore diet. And what that means is you eat enough protein to sustain your muscle and bone, but you eat so much fat that you're in a therapeutic level of ketosis. So you maintain your energy, because that protein can turn into glucose as well. So you don't want to eat so much protein like some carnivore diets, and I actually have friends that have survived cancer doing that. Cancer that they weren't supposed to survive. So, food is truly medicine, and it can be so healing. And the thing is, your brain heals when you remove addictive substances from your diet. And we say, alcohol is liquid sugar. So there's no room in that pyramid either for alcohol when you're an addict, because that's just going to trigger that same area of your brain. So we say stay away from all mood and mind altering substances, period. Because again, one disease, many outlets. And you don't want to, switch seats on the Titanic, as my friend David says. And I know David, but that's what you're doing. You're switching ships on the Titanic. You start your shopping addiction. I'm talking about once you're an addict, then you have to take responsibility for what are your behaviors. And it's not about willpower. It's about being willing to go through withdrawals. And if you do it once, you don't have to do it again. Then you just have to do a daily program that keeps you safe from those trigger behaviors.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you I'm offering a free weight loss virtual Bible study. Now is the perfect time to focus on understanding true hunger and fullness and learn what the Bible has to say about it. All you have to do is go to chantelrayway.com/Bible study. After you sign up, you'll receive a 6-week Bible study video that you can watch on your own, or you can get a small group of people and do it together. That's chantelrayway.com/Bible study for your free 6-week Bible study course. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the lymph system a little bit more, because I think for me, it has helped me so much, really understanding that my body relies on my lymphatic system to remove waste like bacteria, viruses, toxins, abnormal cells, and that can lead to cancer. And so I just really, the things that I do all the time are I try to create a habit of, I have the vibrating plates, which I try to get on at least 5 times a week, get in that sauna at least 4 or 5 times a week, and get a massage at least 2 times a week. So talk a little bit about, do you know the differences between a sauna and an infrared sauna, and kind of how that helps your lymphatic system?
I think that a lot of that is just anecdotal. There's no real science out there. I think anything that warms you up and warms your core temperature greater than it was is going to be beneficial to your lymphatic system, because it's going to help everything kind of loosen up and flow a little better. And so, literally, if you can even just take a nice hot bath or warm bath and then dry brush before you get into the shower, that kind of thing. Because not everybody has the luxury of having a sauna. Although now you can cheap out those. You're talking about infrared. You can buy a panel that you just sit in front of, and they are not expensive. And yes, it's very helpful to your lymph system. And it is, if people don't understand their bodies, that's part of what we're going to be doing at SugarX Global, is helping people understand their bodies and how they work. Because your body doesn't work like, here's your heart and it's all by yourself, and here's this and it's all by itself. No, it's a whole ecosystem, and you actually have more cells in and on your body than you have that are your own body. So we're going to be educating a lot. And I'm actually a primal health coach and an ex-nurse, and my husband's a cardiologist, and we're going to have a segment called The Coach and the Cardiologist, where people can actually ask questions about how their body works. Because part of, I think, recovery from dieting, from chronic dieting, recovery from anything, from autoimmunity, whatever, is beginning to have an understanding, a basic concept of how your body works. And your lymph system is kind of like the big garbage removal system of your body, but it starts even smaller than that. Each cell has tiny little cells called liposomes that are the kind of the trash men of your body. And on a cellular level, the better your body works, because you're eating more nutrient dense foods, you're well hydrated, you're sleeping and moving properly, then you're talking about epigenetics. You can actually change your epigenetics. And so as your brain heals, that's part of what's happening when you get rid of these processed foods and all of these things, and health starts to return to your brain cells, your neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters are largely made in your gut, so it's all tied together. So thinking of one system on its own is almost too myopic and small. And honestly, if you just remove the junk from what you're putting in your mouth, get a good night's sleep, do some breathing. I love this little tool, because stress is huge, and this is called the relaxator, and it slows your rests down to like 5 or 6 per minute without thinking. I'll be sitting here, emailing my clients, doing some paperwork, whatever, and I don't even have to think, and I can decrease my cortisol, which is good for my immune system, you can get these on, it's called the Relaxator, and you can get it on conscious breathing. And they also have, I think, the best sleep tape out there. And sleep tape, you put it over your mouth. And if you just put your hand over your mouth right now and take a few breaths, you'll see that your diaphragm works better. Nasal breathing is so much more healthier and better for your immune system. And it helps you with your nitric oxide levels, which have a lot to do with your metabolism. And a lousy night's sleep can make your appetite increase by 300 to 600 calories. So there's another health thing that you can do for yourself that's simple, inexpensive, and increases your ability to, even if you're just a harmful user and you want to lose those few pounds, it's like a quick little biohack you can do that you don't even think about. And it just gets you into a deeper sleep in the hours between 10 and 2, which 10 and 2, that's when you upregulate your growth hormone. And that helps your body.
Well, this has been great. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Well, we just opened up our Facebook page for SugarX Global. And I'm also on Piece of Keto on Facebook and YouTube. And I have free groups on Facebook and Piece of Keto with lots of great information, recipes, videos, talks about how your body works, why you shouldn't eat these bad seed oils. And I invite anyone that wants to improve their health or has curiosity to come on.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you again for being with us. And if you have a question that you want answered, go to questions@chantelrayway.com. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
This has been a SIMPRONTO Media production.